Welcome to the Grizzly Den playoff style as the Bunnies come into beautiful Missoula, Montana. The Jackrabbits of South Dakota State come into Montana and play the third-ranked Montana Grizzlies. South Dakota comes in at 14th. 14th. What am I doing? All right. We're excited, but we are ready for South Dakota State. Before we get to South Dakota State, let's just take 40 seconds or less. Yes, we lost to the Bobcats 31-28. Don't let anyone tell you anything about calls, holding every play. Garbage. 31-28, 6 minutes to go. We cannot get the ball back. Credit to the Montana State Bobcats. They get the 2 seed. Now, as we get prepped for South Dakota State, you see the Griz are only favored by 1.5. This is not your typical 14 seed coming into beautiful Missoula, Montana. This is a team that won the national title by beating us 2 years ago. Last year, what did they do? They beat us again in this round in the Bunny Turf. But now we're coming back to Missoula. So what happened to South Dakota State this year? They jumped out to a 7-0 record, including a victory in Bozeman, Montana against the Montana State Bobcats. Now, to show how good these guys are, they're only 1.5-point dogs coming into Missoula. But look at who's favored to win the national title. North Dakota State, minus 300 to win this tournament. The Bobcats, 5-1 to win this tournament. Who's third? South Dakota State, Montana, and Tarleton State. Yes, you got a round of 16 matchup with 2 teams that are 20-1 to win this thing. That's the third best odds. So what happened? 7-0 record. They beat the Cats in Bozeman in overtime. For the Cats, only FCS loss this year so far. Then came a 4-game losing streak. Why? Part of it, they're all everything, all stud, swagger back QB. Mr. Mason got hurt. Now, in this first game, they got throttled by North Dakota State. Came into South Dakota State, beat them 38-7. And, Mason was out. Injuries creeping in on the defense. Then the shocker of all shockers happened. Indiana State, a team that we put 60 on, one of the maybe the absolute worst team in the Missouri Valley, came in and not only beat South Dakota State, they beat them by 12. Now you have to look deeper. Is it just the quarterbacks gone? No. This team ends up losing 4 in a row, 3 to playoff teams, but still 4 in a row. And then Mason comes back, and they're able to get North Dakota in overtime on a very, let's just say, fortunate play to get them the win over North Dakota. So all credit to them. And then they throttled New Hampshire in the snow last week. And now, as Step on the Duck would say, it looks like they're getting their swagger back. And I have to agree, and it's going to make me concerned as a University of Montana Griz fan. Yes, of course it's concerning. Because what do you got? You got a team a school that is used to winning, used to making deep runs, especially the last 5 years coming in here. What people are not talking about is a big reason why that in most of those games in that 4-game losing streak, South Dakota State wasn't even competitive. They got blown away. And it was their defense. And it was this is not the same defense that went up to Bozeman and won into just a great game. So they've lost a lot of pieces at each level of their defense. Are they getting a little bit healthier? Time will tell. You don't know anything in a Georgia game, let alone or a G5 game, let alone in the FCS playoffs. So I feel like it's a good matchup for the Griz, because what scares me when the Griz play are that, yes, their defense is not at a championship level. I mean, we're trying to make this the first team ever to have 11 new starters that win a national title. So that hasn't been at a championship level as the season's gone back. Now, if we can get our DB, Mr. Loud, back, that could be big. We all remember him making the play to end the North Dakota trying to come back and beat us. Ended that game with the breakup. We all remember that. So if Mr. Loud can come back, we just might have a little bit of spark. Of course, the magic of Washington Grizzly Stadium is going to be there. But the way teams, I think, could beat Montana is defensively. And there's only two teams that I see out there that play to their defense well enough to stop the best offense in the country in the Montana Grizzlies. And that's North Dakota State and Montana State. In Montana State, we did a pretty good job offensively, which is really encouraging as we get into the playoffs here. We were able to put up 28 points on maybe the second best defense if you put North Dakota State as the best defense in the whole FCS landscape. So I believe we'll be able to move the ball. The key, I think, is really going to be I got to say, you can't believe in our field goal kicking when it gets past 40 yards. And it's nerve-wracking when it's 35 yards. I have to admit that. The punting, same guy, much better. The kick return game could be the big difference. This is what put us over the top 2 years ago that got us past North Dakota State, got us to the national title game, was special teams. And how always builds great special teams. On the return, you're going to have Mr. Electricity return the ball. You're going to have Deck return the ball. Kickoffs, punt returns with Deck and Wortham. Kickoff returns, our backup running back, Stevie Rocker, and Wortham will be back there. I think it's going to set up for some good field position. I think we could drive on these guys 75, 80 yards. So this is almost like a backup plan, for lack of a better word. So I think we're going to be able to score. South Dakota State, do they have their mojo back? Is Mason really 100%, or did he just play a playoff team that's not from the Missouri Valley Conference? So it's like in New Hampshire, is not going to go on the road and beat a tough Missouri Valley team. So there's a lot to be concerned about, I must admit it. But we know that Kyle has already made all those reservations for Nashville for January 5th. Going to party the whole weekend, and Monday comes around, we're all going to get our national title. So now it's put up or shut up time. We lost to the Cats, and we make no excuses. We don't Trevor around here and say bad calls and blah, 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 and billionaire boys clubs like other people like to do. No. We lost to the Bobcats. The difference between them and us is beating us is more important to them. But what's more important to us is winning the national title. That's what we're going to do. I know there's a lot of concern out there. All you bandwagoners going, are you serious? We have to play South Dakota State to open the playoffs? Yes. And then we're going to play the winner of Mercer and South Dakota. It's going to have to come in here. And neither of those teams are good as South Dakota State, even though South Dakota did beat South Dakota State without Mason at quarterback. How electric is Mason going to be in Washington Grizzly Stadium when they're false starting every other play? Let's go see how that mojo works in beautiful Missoula, Montana. We will see you next week with another video because we will be playing the winner of Mercer in South Dakota. So let's go dominate the spread. 1.5 as I do this video. When I saw a total, it was yesterday, it was 56.5. I'd go over. I'll take the Griz on the money line. Let's go dominate. We'll see you next week, and we'll see everyone there as Kyle has reserved all those rooms in Nashville for the Griz fandom. All right. Thank you for your time. Go Griz.